IW-FCV 2022. So we'll begin with a keynote lecture, and the chair for this session is Professor Na. So I would like to hand over to him now. Thank you very much.
Before you starting, I'm asking you give me permission to share my display. Hello?
Yes, understood.
Okay.
That's okay.
Clear.
Okay. Hello everyone, it is time to start. Today is the second day of IW-FCV 2022. This is Professor Na, the session chair of Keynote Lecture 2. Professor Joe, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me introduce the keynote speaker, Professor Joe Kanghyun. Today, his keynote topic is autonomous drone imaging for computer vision. Let's welcome Professor Joe.
Thank you so much, Professor Na. It is very, very kind introduction, so long. I'm thinking it is quite exaggerating for my self-bio, but thank you so much for me to have opportunity research project, which has been involved in drone system. Aiming for the AI innovation or innovations in Korea project. So I have been involved to establish high quality drone images for Korean national projects. So I would like to introduce that kind of things in this talk. So I'd like to switch over to open up my So maybe you can see my materials here. All right, yeah, this has been done, already done. So I'd like to introduce Korean AI data collection projects. This is under the Ministry of Education and Science and Technology. Since 2017, it has been big pivot to establish much of the AI data for promote our national AI related projects. Since that time, it has been grown up almost 200 projects per year. It has been evolved now. So during the 2020, I also have initiated as one project which has been in AI data collections and archive processing using drone systems. Each itemized fund is approximately $2 billion US. So mostly 400 million US dollars per year for general total finance for a year. So in these projects, actually, any institute like a university or a company or some corporate with some consortium partners, it has been done. So it covers quite a wide area of data, like natural language data. For example, it contains almost 45 verbal, corpus, dialects, and also newspapers, articles, or law or regulations in text, and so on. And also, we also have a very interest in vision data, which has been incorporated like sports and some marks and past actions or education. So many variety of work. Same as in the healthcare data, many variety of organs or medical images. This also covers more than 35 per year. So until now, I mean. So, and also my projects which has been underlined on the navigation data. which covers like raw data or LiDAR images and natural drone. So it is quite a microscopic area by the drone. And also safety data, anomaly for human actions or something, or drowsiness in the car cabin and so on. And of course, agricultural or livestock, so livestock behaviors and so on. And also eco landscape data has been incorporated in this. So as I show you this coverage, more than 200 projects per year. That means if it accumulated this many years consecutively, that has been uploaded on continuously onto our website, which has been entitled as aihub.or.kr. Even though that has been mostly written in Korean characters, but if you access it through that website, you can see the whole coverages and how many corpus or data sets are enlisted on that website. So 2020, 2 years actually, during the year 2020, I have initiated image data archives and AI services for drone. It covers almost 2 million US dollars. Yeah, at the time I have been a PIM for this project, so I have 9 more partners from the 4 drone aviation companies, and also 2 more software company and 2 more ICT promotion agency or university like Kanghyun National University. So I have made a consortium. So when you fly up the drones, that is not easy generally because we have to have a mission from the aviation agency. So we have to have cooperations with like police to get permissions to have cooperations from the side. So it was been quite delicate process. So during that time, we had to have fly up the drones and take the data. So those data covers like so 4K video data should be kept. So we have allocated some areas like amusement park area and downtown city downtown area and also mountain or forest area. So we have accumulated almost set up more than 320 hours video data, and also additionally we had some LiDAR data while we are flying off the drones. So we set up three kinds of areas like the regional park, downtown, and mountain area. So we collect each the spots. That covers from the not only one spot, we covers almost as much as wider area like in our peninsula geometry. So we had also partners, drone aviation partners. Those are entering with their own machines and fly up their drones. So they have a lotted area. So before that, they have to have permissions from the agency. So we started that during mostly that has been done during the summer season because the project has started at June. So that has been closed at end of the year. So half year project. So during that period, we have to have an urge to take more images as soon as possible. So as allotted, right? So mostly data has been taken during the summer season and autumn season. So these are the ones stereotypical stick from the amusement park and forest and mountain and downtown. You know, the drone will fly up the mountain with the sky in the sky. That there must be some geometrical information like altitude, how high they fly, and how fast they fly up, fly, and also with the camera, how's the chasing angles to catch the images. So we set up the classified into some categories like according to the altitude, for example, 60 meters above the land, and unbounded by 100 meters. Yeah. There is also regulations on drone flying or drone aviation, so that has been bounded 60 meter above and 80 meter above and 100 meters. Also, we allocated camera see the directly downward like an orthographic view or uh, 60 degrees tilting, 60 degrees and 45 degrees. So we have also allocated three kinds of angle of the tilt. So according to that classification, according to the altitude, tilting angle. So those flying drones will fly up the amusement park area and downtown and forest mountain area. So mostly, you know, the opponents in the image, according to the imagery, of course, the objects are also going to be different, right? So mostly in the amusement park, there we have much more focus on the pedestrians and cars and trees on the road. On the other hand, in downtown, mostly cars on the road that is also very, very often appeared. Of course, in downtown, buildings, right? So we mostly detect buildings and pedestrians and some lamps and banners or traffic signs. By the way, in the forest or mountain area, as you easily can imagine, during the summer and autumn seasons, of course, the color itself is quite different, but mostly they are trees. So we are already focused on the decathlon to detect or to develop the AI services software. So we are much more interested in detection of human in the mountain time. So mostly in the mountain area images, we are already focused on the not only in the forest, we can see that the hiking road or trail roads. As I mentioned previously, we also at the time added LiDAR data. We wanted to collect more for our future research work. So we could take some portions of the LiDAR data, so we could also get AI data. Later on, I will say each. So total collections of 4K video images was more than 300, more than 320 hours. So for example, 400. We set up with 320 hours. That is also very, very big amount of data. And also we select as a LiDAR data for 16 hours. As I mentioned, according to that area, amusement park or downtown or mountain, we have allocated places in the country as wider as possible. So not only on the Ulsan area, my town, we also aviated drones to the Daegu area, and also we fly up drones on the mountain. You know, Korea is quite big, many mountains country, so we allocated aviated drones so wider areas. Even even if they was to the Jirisan Mountain and to the Songrisan Mountain to the north. So in total, we have allocated 26 places in total. So once we have catches the video images sequences, then we have to have some developed the AI data for computer vision. So we also detect the images from the video. So we try to make an archive. We archive the video, and then we detect, we retrieve the image as a sequence. And also in each image, we have to have make some bounding boxes for each object. That is a really trivial job and very cumbersome for human beings. So we have to devise what is the best way for doing that. You know, that is all AI or computer vision personnel already now. Most of the such a trivial jobs has been dispatched to the third world. So much more lower level cost area country, so dispatch that collect data. But that is also a good option, but we have to learn from our side. So we also had modified our authoring tools so we could do that kind of work. And also we allocated some people, hired some people to do that kind of trivial stuff for the time being. This is one different kind of examples. In the mountain, as you see, mostly in the mountain, they are all trees, you know. And we very interested in the trails or track or hiking areas. So whether there is a person lying there or not, that is much more interesting target for developing the AI services. So we also do that kind of reason segmentation. This is one example of the LiDAR data. Three-dimensional labeling is also necessary for detect one concrete objects as a 3D mesh like that. So during working with this kind of process at the time, we have made a team, AI team. So we recruit 18 workers and let them understand what you are doing and also how we can archive AI data. So we have to provide a periodic annotation and education for them. And also that is not sufficient for work because it was really long videos, images. So we have to do the cross-source work. So 88 part-timers have been also involved in the online and offline annotation education. So we have delivered our presentations for them and working with them together during that 2020 half year. So data processing is also very important to get a AI data. So we have to have that work. So this is our modified authoring tools to work. Once they have collected video data, and then we put out the retrieve each image sequences. Mostly that has been done 30 frames per second, but we only do some portions of data to make an archive for dispatch for anyone who wants their use that data set like that. This is one example. So after annotating job, we call the bounding box, object bounding box detections. Then we can dump out to the JSON files to make AI data using crowdsource people or general workers in our team. So once they have done, then we will do that all need to be sent to the deep learning server. And then later on, after archive that kind of portions of data, then we'll train our learning system so that the learning system can detect according to that data. So we feed in new images, and then we collect data, and then we feed in again to the deep learning server. So that kind of process as a feedback system will work make our work faster and faster. At the beginning, of course, there is no data, so we could not do. Of course, we can use some image data from the MS Coco or some other image net from other side, but this is also one examples for our own drone images, so it has been much more customized for our own. So we have to do this kind of process as a feedback system. So as I mentioned, this kind of process is firstly we have to establish archiving system, imaging archives as a data with annotating data. And national government wants to establish more AI pivoted industries. So we have also have to provide some AI services. So we have to cooperate with software companies, two more software companies. So we have done set up different types of services. So on the roadside mostly downtown, then we have to get data mostly on the road or street. We could detect so many cars, right? So with that kind of information, we could develop software like congestion or traffic jam analysis on the road. So that is very, very interesting. Later on, I will show you how we have developed that. So that's interesting AI service. And also in the downtown, of course, people are as a producer or people are gathering so much in the, for example, Mission Park or some area. So with that kind of data set, how we can detect the human and then what they do there. So for example, when they have some fighting or some troubles with the people, between the people, so we could detect that area. Of course, this kind of data set itself is not natural, in some sense not natural, because people are not usually fighting each other often, right? So we have to allocate some actors to do that, to detect that kind of image group. And in the mountain, of course, in the mountain, it is not easy. It is not too easy to see the people all the time, especially when they are hiding by the under the tree, for example. So it is not easy. But on the trail, we can detect easily people how they are behaving, or just taking rest, or lying down. If they are lying down long, then we may regard that is not just rest, like fainting or trauma. So that is for actually detections for life searching as a AI service. We propose in that kind of mainly three area. We propose three kinds of software AI service. So this is one example, first example. So CNN-based pedestrian and appearance color-based missing person detection service has been done. So that is one idea. So this is a neat guide, but if it is missing, then we can search out all the people, pedestrians who are running or existing, then we can try to fetch out who is most appropriate with him. Something like that. In the traffic analysis service, for example, so the cars cars are covered by the bounding box. Bounding box means rectangle. So that kind of rectangles are also different sizes according to the distance or according to the original size of the cars. Like a bus is much bigger, right? So anyhow, if you detect those data in the raw images, then we can check out how many cars there in the road. So we could count the number in occurrence of that road area. So we could count the density. So we could say the congestion level. So this is an example. So yeah, at the time, yeah, I mean 2020. At the time, even after that, 2020, at the beginning, we could do that kind of AI service in two roads, yeah, different directions. One road covers two different directions, but at the time, we counted it all together in one time, in one fashion. But later on, actually, we have differentiated different directions though. At that time, this was the result. So if there is a scars, then there is, yeah, for example, number of the cars are 90 plus is 1, for example. So we can count the number of that vehicles. So we could see that the vehicle ratios has 25% here, but on the the same site but different time zone, there has been level vehicle ratio is going to be peak more than 52 level, so that has been alarmed as a congestion level. But this is one type of service in the world. And the tourist attractions in the amusement park, for example. So at the time we proposed missing persons identification. So every pedestrians are located on the imageries. So once we have make a target persons, then we can make try to find that VID we using his or her clothes as an appearance. So appearance-based detections of human. So there has been the detections of missing person detection service. So in some cases, this is this is one type of amusement park. We are located in Ulsan downtown. That is National Forest Garden actually. So here people are located so many in some area, some area. So higher gatherings, uh, uh, means is not normal usually. So we can try to get predictions for human abnormal behaviors. Sometimes assault, as I mentioned, fighting, or to detect wandering or fainting, or a group of people are getting together. Many that kind of things are interesting to do this kind of drone services in the amusement park. So at the time, this is an additional one though. People are walking. When they are walking, there is a periodic actions of the being. So some indoor work was being done for how to identify the motions, legs motions, to identify the walking or running and so on. So this is one type that has been detected process of group of the people detections and calculations of the skeleton. This is indoor though, so yeah, that kind of research work has been done for this AI service. And in the forest area, mountain area, as you see, this is a stereotypical one. Images almost all is covered by the trees, right? So yeah, even though of course we human beings understand so many things with the once shut up this image, but so mostly this has been rather focused on how to detect this kind of trail. That was the mainly at the time we have to propose a human rescue for human rescue. So to identify human who are lying down or not. That is a proposed AI service. So this is a segmentation, region segmentation results at the time, some part of the work. So using this kind of work at the time, the project has covers quite much. Yeah, national government when they gave us
여보세요?
RFP, not only detect, not only shooting the drone images, so taking the videos. So from that video, retrieving the images of,
실습을
and
하지.
then generating some
좀 강의실 때문에 그러구만.
models, research, and then do some.
뭐 학생들이 그런 질문을 한다가
General
그
people
강의
learn or
계획서에
use
다
those
나와
data.
있는데.
So we have to use some hackathon software contest. So we made an issue like an object recognition software hackathon contest during this period of process. So this was the Memo's photo at the time when it does. That has been done for
아니야.
two
용학 과목
days
한 번도
without
안
night.
들어봤잖아.
Actually, 2 days.
근데 뭔 다른 과목을 이야기를 해? 용학 과목에서는 과목 자체가 없잖아. 내용 자체가.
The work from the AI data which we have
잠깐 지금 과목이 인공지능이지?
participants, so they could detect the object detections.
아,
Their mission
인공지능
was
내용이 이제
something
내가
like
다른 거하고 헷갈렸어.
from the photo imaging.
프로그램 얘기를 안 들었다고?
So from there,
빅데이터
how
프로그램 안 들었다고? 파이썬을 모른다는 얘기니까.
how many kinds of objects there is supposed. So
근데 그때
for example here,
그렇게
18
순서가
kinds
됐다고?
of
3학년가
objects like tree, person, animal, or house, and so on.
3학년이 신청했다고 이제?
So from there, they have to provide it. They have to
지금까지 그런
provide
사례가 없는데 누가?
just images.
우리 2학년들 아니고 3학년이 신청한 사례가 없잖아.
They do this
뭔가
is
지금 과정을 잘못 듣고 있다.
separate value except file. So they
설명회를
say
전혀 안
the
들어왔던
images
그런
like this.
개인적으로 시간도 안 맞으니까 그런가 보구나.
Except file covers with information like coordinate.
그래, 그럴 거야.
Top left
다른 문제는
is
없죠?
y, and bottom right is y.
아이고,
Coordinate. So those coordinates
기초 교양 다 끝나간가 이제?
which we have provided as a test for them for training for them for the participants. There was a GT ground truth
뭐 어떤
data,
거?
but later on we are giving them
어디로 간대?
the general information, general arbitrary data. So their detection rate, their detection objects and the original ones. So
빠졌구나.
using that idea, intersection of union, so they computed this intersection. So according to that kind of detection, whether that is well detected or not, and also how much well fitted with that intersections, so that has been scored with this equation. So we scored it. Now I'm going to show you some demos. This is one example of the traffic understanding, traffic analysis service. So that has been
좋은 소식이 있던데요. 네.
So this is examples.
나 정확히 어디로 가는지
this
못
is
들었어요.
This is post processing.
아, 이번에 호텔로 가셨구나. 우리는 다 호텔로
With the
가야 돼.
green light, you see that switch over to the red.
호텔 어디로 가세요? 누구랑 뭐 기존에
more and more. So
학동이 네.
So next one is another
네.
demo.
네.
So this is the detections of the
아,
missing
그러면 우리 윤상호
human
교수님하고
being
같은
ID with a
포지션이고,
missing person. So that has been using this
아,
target
그렇구나.
image.
이거
So in the imaging part, who is located with her
여하튼 방도 줄 거고요.
many candidates.
그
They are
나름
top
괜찮을
of here.
겁니다.
So we can follow up in the further time. So we can try to fetch
네.
the lady.
축하드립니다. 아유, 축하드려요. 네, 잘 됐죠. 네. 네. 아유, 뭐, 이번에 안 만나고 앞으로는 안 만날 거예요. 전 세계 어디 가도 우리는 인연이 다 이어져 있으니까.
Even after that kind of work, actually we have been involved
네, 알겠습니다.
more
축하드립니다.
data,
네.
which has been the coastal guide or coastal area. You know, this video skit that was not taken by us at the time. This has been initiated from the Busan Techno Park. They are also capturing some, archiving some coastal imagery. So using that coastal imagery, we could detect boat or ship on the sea. So, so local people know understand this is a person Igide or Morito. Morito island means 5 or 6 island. So in the coastal line, boat or ship detections. So now it is almost right time to conclude. Actually, I tried to introduce my process which has been done 2020. That has been sponsored by the national government under the grant of NIA, National Information Agency. That is proclaimed like a digital New Deal policy in Korea since 2017 or 16. Once they have been very shocked by the Grandmaster in Go has been defeated by the AlphaGo, you already know. So Mr. Lee has been defeated 4-1, right? So that has been really big shock in Korea at the time. So national government tried to push or foster AI industry in Korea. So to do that kind of work, we have to have collect AI data. You know, very wide area, very wide scope of topic. So that has been done. That has been done. So that was a really big pivot to data for AI-based applications of blogging in the variety of industries. So many approaches to foster application targets for researchers and developers are still undergone. So that is all my talks this morning. Professor now will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems very interesting.
Thank you so much.
In this speech, Prof. Cho introduced how he gathered the drone image and how manage and service his data set. Is there any questions?
Yes. As I mentioned, in the middle of that, actually we had established more than 320 hours of video that has been retrieved into the imagery about 30 frames per second per level of that has been almost 30 million, more than 30 million images with the 4K images, I mean. And also, not all of the images has been archived as object detections with a full ground truth because that is a really big number. So we only select mostly 1 frame per second. So mostly those things are already loaded. We have to load it to the archive system in the AI hub, but the NIA itself doesn't open up all. Some collections are only portions of the collections will be distributed to the web server. So in some cases, when they are much more interested in more detail, then they have to request to the NIA or personally to me. That is about.
Okay. Is there any questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
Professor Joe,
Yes.
okay, very great job. And you are managing good project and then big project. I think that this kind of job and the project should be supported by government or big social institute. And then they want the supporters want to make the real application in ordinary life of the civilians. So do you have any plan to make a real application system?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's very good questions and good. You pinpointed very wonderful things. Actually, not only the NIA, so many other local agencies, for example, as I mentioned in Busan TP, Busan Technopark, also they provided that things work as a real projects. So actually, I haven't say. Can you see? Can you see this?
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I also run my company, which is an entire like corporate corporation. That has been just established for 3 years. We hadn't had any incomes though, so we have to diverse our work into real projects or real products. So we propose that kind of software or things to provide our results to the Busan TP, for example. Just show that the last demo, that was not our imagery. At that time, we hadn't have a coastal line information. But Busan TP have their own, so they request us why not to try to show some examples to detect. And Ulsan, in my local city, in Ulsan, the police in Ulsan, they are also very interested in detections of the missing person or identify the local road congestion level. So we have devised that idea to propose that idea to the Busan TP and Ulsan.
Okay, I see that. And then I think that you initiate good triggers for developing that kind of industry. So in the case, I think that you better to make a big group, colleagues. Okay, so do you have any plan to expand this project to the research group?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a really good idea, but in reality, it is not easy to to allocate the fund continuously. Yeah, as I mentioned here, 2020, I have more than 2 million US dollars for half year, but later on, actually, I couldn't get it exactly continuously. So I cannot foster the team continuously. So I have to work on the small portions of the work. So it is not easy. If, of course, if I allocated that kind of fund continuously every year, continuously, then there is much easier way. But it is not. The NIA projects they are giving their grant in each year, in each time, in a different way. So it is not easy to collect the fund continuously.
Okay. There is time limitation. There are another questioner.
Professor, I have one question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Kaushik from Bangladesh, Professor. Nice to meet you after a long time. If I want to work with that data set, how can I get that data set? It's possible?
Yeah, it is possible. You must ask me.
Okay.
Yeah, actually
thank you.
we have our own NAS system, data system. So that is not well aligned for foreigners actually, because we have to report to the NIA, national government, which has been down our grant. So we have to write in Korean characters at the time. So we hadn't have a good good.
Another thing, Professor, this is a marvelous work. We can see that what you are mentioning, annotations. This is a time-consuming process. Can we perform that thing automatically? It is possible.
Automatically, yeah. You know, not all total automation, but in some part. For example, if you have one video sequence, you can retrieve images, and then you can do pose some specific, for example, object detections things. Then, if you have some task like that, then you propose your detection. For detection, you can train your system. For example, YOLO versions, for example. So you can detect objects using that new images.
So
We have image sequence, you can do that. But while we are flying the drones, they are doing that on the real time. That is not easy. So for that, it is not possible. So I cannot guarantee that. But this is a one type of developing the AI software.
sorry, Professor Joe.
Thank you, Professor.
This time is over.
Yes,
so
right.
yeah.
Sorry.
So let's finish this session.